So, is there a way out of the confusion and the futility of boom and bust cycles? And is there a way out of the confusion of a fragmented worldview which leaves out cause and effect and leaves us unable to understand the relationship between different parts of the economic process, wealth creation, and of course the investment decisions that we have to make? Is there a way to properly value stocks and bonds and other investments relative to risk in a world where confusion reigns? The answer is yes, there is a way out. We call that way out principle-centered reasoning. And the idea is not to look to the smartest person in the room, because the smartest person in the room is who got us here. And the idea is not to surrender to the idea that it's a random universe, fragmented and confused, in which there's no coherence or systematic understanding, but to acknowledge that there are certain foundational principles that have caused the United States and much of the Western world to perform well economically and given rise to some of the great economic and political minds of the modern world. And if we go back to those foundational principles, we can again make sense of the world. And that starts with the idea that God is in the center of reality. As the creator of reality, he's created a rational universe because he's a rational God. Our minds, being made in his image, are able to see clearly as well. Not perfectly clearly. We see through a glass darkly, Paul says. But just because you see through a glass darkly doesn't mean that you can't see at all. And so we bring man back together with God. We bring God back to his position, not relegated to some irrelevant otherworldly status, but engaged in his world. We bring man back together. We look at the demographics of man and woman and generations, and we see that another principle is that people are economically productive by nature because they're created to be. They are creative like God, which means a new person who comes into the world, yes, that new boy or that new girl is a mouth, but they're also a mind and two hands. And when they're allowed to be free and be like their heavenly Father and productive, they lead to economic growth, they lead to prosperity, and they lead to abundance. So you pull man back into the picture in man's relationship with the earth. And we see that we're actually designed to work on the earth. That the God who made man and the God who made the earth is one God with one mind, and we are compatible with one another. We run on the same software. That software is the divine mind. We, made in God's image, are able to think about the world in terms that make sense because the God who made our mind is also the God who made the world. And so abundance is possible. And productivity gets placed back in the position of its centrality in the economic process. That more people, yielding more productivity can cause the entire pie to grow. And we bring economic growth back in. We bring investments back in. We bring consumption back into the picture. And we get back to that trade-off where greater investment means greater economic growth, and our production possibilities frontier begins to expand again. And we see the relationship between those things. And we see that that is the basis, that this economic growth leading to greater investment is the basis of our capital markets, that we have to save in order to invest, and that we have to invest in order to grow. And so the capital markets move back into a position of coherence with the rest of the system. We're no longer left completely unable to measure the amount of risk. We're not left completely unable to say what is the proper level of risk. We're taken out of a world of confusion where human nature, being double-minded in nature and therefore unstable, and is given to excessive optimism, excessively low risk evaluation, and then is given to excessive pessimism, excessively high risk evaluation. We're not trapped in that because we can see what the valuations should be given economic conditions and given the actions of the state. We put the state back into the system and see the relationship between policy, tax policy, spending policy, borrowing policy, monetary policy, and see how that affects the economy, see how that affects productivity, the economy, the availability of capital, and the proper valuation of assets. So the first thing we have to do to get out of this mess is to see and think clearly. See the system as a system that fits together, coherent with cause and effect.